My parents sued me for refusing to donate my kidney to their golden daughter. So I walked away, and they lost everything. Hi, I'm Kayla. Today, I always knew I was the backup daughter in my family, but I never thought my own parents would actually drag me to court over it. That's right. My mother and father sued me because I wouldn't hand over a kidney to my sister, Sabrina. Growing up in Sabrina's shadow wasn't just difficult, it was suffocating. She was 3 years older than me, and from the day I was born, it seemed like my only purpose was to make her shine brighter by comparison. Straight A's at Riverside High? Check. Student body president? Naturally. Homecoming queen? Of course. She even got a full scholarship to Yale. Meanwhile, I was just Kayla. B, average student, member of exactly one club, the Art Society, which met twice a month, and definitely, absolutely not the favorite child. My father, Robert, barely acknowledged my existence unless I messed something up. Kayla, why can't you be more like your sister? Became the soundtrack of my childhood. I heard it so many times that I started keeping count in a journal. By age 16, I'd tallied 347 instances. My mother, Patricia, had a different approach. She'd let out these long, dramatic sighs whenever I entered a room, as if my mere presence drained the oxygen from her world. Mom, I got a B+ on my chemistry exam, I announced one afternoon during my junior year, waving the test paper with genuine pride. Chemistry was brutal, and I'd studied for 3 solid nights. Patricia barely glanced up from her copy of Better Homes and Gardens. That's nice. Sweetheart. From the kitchen, Dad's voice boomed out. Sabrina got her acceptance letter from Yale today. Early decision. Mom's whole face transformed. She practically levitated off the couch. Oh my God, Robert, we need to celebrate properly. Let's take her to Giovanni's, that new Italian restaurant downtown everyone's talking about. I stood there in the doorway, still holding my chemistry test, feeling invisible. I actually worked really hard on this. Chemistry is my worst subject, and I thought maybe we could— Kayla, honey, we're a bit preoccupied right now, Mom interrupted, already pulling out her phone to make reservations. We need to plan Sabrina's celebration dinner. Maybe we can discuss your test another time. Yeah, sure, I mumbled, knowing that another time translated to never in my family's vocabulary. My best friend Taylor was the only person who truly saw what was happening in my house. We'd been inseparable since 4th grade, when she'd shared her lunch with me after I'd forgotten mine for the 3rd time that week. Your parents are seriously messed up, Taylor said one Friday night, as we lounged in her finished basement, sharing a bowl of popcorn and watching some terrible reality show. It's like you're completely invisible to them unless they need something from you. And even then, they act like you should be grateful for the attention. I shrugged, trying to play it off like it didn't bother me as much as it did. I've gotten used to it, I guess. 2 more years and I'll be off at college somewhere far away from here. Maybe Oregon, or Washington State. Somewhere they won't just drop by unannounced. That doesn't make any of this okay, Kayla, Taylor insisted, turning down the TV volume. Have you ever tried actually sitting them down and telling them how you feel? Like a real conversation? Once, I admitted, the memory still stinging after all these years. I was 14. I told Dad that I felt like they loved Sabrina more than me, that I felt invisible. You know what he said? Taylor shook her head, her expression already sympathetic. He told me I was being overdramatic, and that instead of being jealous of Sabrina's accomplishments, I should try supporting her more. Mom just sat there nodding along like a bobblehead. They made me feel like I was the problem for even bringing it up. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't possibly have known, was that their favoritism was about to take a turn so dark, so manipulative, that it would end up splashed across newspapers and debated in courtrooms. Fast forward 8 years. I was 29 years old, living in a modest 1-bedroom apartment in Riverside's historic district, working as a freelance graphic designer. I deliberately put physical distance between myself and my family. Not too far that they'd make a big deal about it, but far enough that I could breathe. I'd established clear boundaries, holiday gatherings only, occasional phone calls, and zero spontaneous visits. It was better that way, healthier for my mental state. Then came the phone call that would shatter my carefully constructed peace. It was a Tuesday evening, and I was finishing up a logo design for a local coffee shop when my phone lit up with Mom's name. My stomach immediately tensed. She never called unless she wanted something. "Kayla, it's Mom." Her voice sounded strained, thicker than usual. "Sabrina's in the hospital. Her kidneys are failing." The words hit me like a physical blow. Whatever resentment I carried, Sabrina was still my sister. We'd shared a childhood, even if mine had been considerably less golden than hers. "What? What do you mean failing? Is she okay? What happened?" "The doctors are saying she needs a transplant," Mom continued, and I could hear the tears in her voice now. "We're all getting tested to see if anyone's a compatible match. You need to get tested too." Despite everything, despite years of being overlooked, dismissed, and made to feel inadequate, I agreed immediately. Because that's what you do when your sister's life is on the line, right? You show up, you help, you don't keep score. 1 week later, I sat in Dr. Stevens' office at Riverside Memorial Hospital, waiting for my test results. The room smelled like antiseptic and anxiety. My hands were shaking slightly as the doctor entered with a manila folder. "Kayla, I've got your compatibility results," Dr. Stevens said, his expression professionally neutral. "You're a match. In fact, you're the only compatible donor in your immediate family." The news should have felt significant, weighty. Instead, I felt numb. Of course I was the only match. Of course. That evening, my phone rang. Dad's name flashed on the screen. I hadn't spoken to him directly in over 4 months. "Kayla, when can you schedule the surgery?" No greeting, no, "How are you feeling about this?" Just straight to business, as if he were asking me to run an errand. "Hi, Dad. I'm fine. Thanks for asking," I said, unable to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. "I haven't actually decided if I'm going through with the donation yet. This is major surgery with serious, lifelong implications." The silence on the other end of the line was so complete I thought the call had dropped. Then, "What do you mean you haven't decided? This is your sister's life we're talking about, Kayla." "I understand that, Dad. But it's also my body, my kidney, my health. I need time to think this through, research the risks, talk to more doctors." "There's nothing to think about," he interrupted, his voice rising to that sharp, commanding tone that used to make me flinch as a child. "You're doing this. End of discussion." Something inside me, something that had been bent and compressed for 29 years, finally hardened. "Dad, you can't just order me to—" "What kind of person hesitates to save their own sister?" he shouted. "After everything we've done for you, everything we've given you?" The audacity of that statement nearly took my breath away. "What exactly have you done for me, Dad? Name one time, just one single time, when you put me first, when you chose me over Sabrina, when you made me feel like I mattered even half as much as she does." Another pause. When he spoke again, his voice was cold, controlled. "This isn't about you, Kayla. This is about your sister. It's always about Sabrina, isn't it?" The words came out bitter. Years of resentment finally spilling over. He hung up before I could say anything else. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 23 text messages. All from my parents, all variations of the same message. "We need to talk about the surgery. Call us immediately. Sabrina is depending on you." I was making coffee when I heard a knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw my mother standing in the hallway, wearing what I called her serious conversation outfit. Pressed slacks and a silk blouse. She only dressed like that when she wanted something important. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. "Can I come in, sweetheart?" she asked, her voice softer than it had been on the phone, more careful. This was her strategy. Dad played bad cop. She played good cop. I'd seen this routine my entire life. I stepped aside and let her in. She sat on my second-hand couch, looking around my apartment with that barely concealed disapproval she'd perfected over the years. Not expensive enough. Not impressive enough. Not Sabrina's penthouse downtown. Kayla, honey, I know you and Sabrina haven't always been as close as your father and I would have liked, she began, folding her hands in her lap like she was posing for a portrait. But she's your sister. She's dying. You're the only person who can save her. Mom, I understand the severity of the situation, I said, deliberately keeping my voice level. But this is a serious medical decision with long-term health consequences for me. I need time to consider all the factors. She leaned forward, her eyes suddenly intense. What factors could possibly matter more than your sister's life? Do you understand what the odds were of you being a compatible match? It's meant to be, Kayla. It's fate. God put you in this family for this exact purpose. The words stung more than she probably intended. It's not fate, Mom. It's genetics, basic biology, and I need to consider all aspects of this decision. The surgical risks, the recovery time, the long-term effects on my own health. Her expression shifted then, hardening into something I'd seen many times before, the mask slipping. What is there to consider? You give your sister a kidney and she lives. You don't and she dies. It's really that simple, Kayla. It's not that simple at all, I shot back, feeling my own resolve strengthening. What about the risks to me? The 6 to 8 week recovery where I can't work? The potential complications down the road? The fact that I'll only have one kidney for the rest of my life? So you're saying your comfort is more important than Sabrina's life? Her voice had gone cold now, ice sharp. Your convenience matters more than your sister surviving? That's not what I'm saying, and you know it, I said, my hands clenching into fists at my sides. I'm saying this is my body, my life, my choice, and I deserve the time and space to make an informed decision without being guilt-tripped and manipulated. She stood up abruptly, smoothing down her blouse. While you're taking your precious time thinking things through, your sister is suffering. Every day you delay, she gets weaker. Mom, the doctor told me she has time if she follows the treatment plan. She's not dying tomorrow. I'm not having this conversation, she said, moving toward the door. Then she turned back, delivering her final blow with surgical precision. Either you do the right thing, Kayla, or you're no longer part of this family. It's your choice. After she left, I sat on my couch for a long time, staring at nothing. Then I called Taylor, and the second she answered, I broke down completely. They're making me feel like a monster, I sobbed into the phone. Like I'm killing her by not immediately saying yes. Listen to me, Taylor said, her voice fierce and protective. You are not a monster. This is a huge, life-altering decision. You have every right, legal, moral, ethical, to think it through carefully. They're basically disowning me, Taylor, my own parents. That's manipulation, Kayla, classic manipulation. Have they even mentioned what other options Sabrina has? Is she on dialysis? Has she been following her treatment plan? I paused, suddenly realizing something. They haven't said anything about other treatments, just the transplant, just me. See? They're not giving you the complete picture. Promise me you'll talk to Sabrina's doctor directly. Get the full story before you make any decision. My boss at the design firm, Leonard, was incredibly understanding when I explained what was happening. Take whatever time you need, he said from across his cluttered desk, surrounded by mood boards and color swatches. And Kayla, remember that nobody, not your parents, not your sister, not anyone, can force you to undergo surgery. Your body is yours alone. I scheduled an appointment with my own physician, Dr. Helen Martinez, to discuss what donation would actually mean for my life. While kidney donation is generally safe, Dr. Martinez explained, pulling up charts on her computer screen, it's not without significant risks. There's the immediate surgical risks, infection, blood clots, bleeding. Then there's the recovery period of 6 to 8 weeks where you'll be severely limited in what you can do. And there are long-term considerations: slightly increased risk of hypertension, reduced kidney function if your remaining kidney develops any issues. What if I need a kidney someday? I asked, the question that had been haunting me since I got the test results. That's a very valid concern, she said seriously. Having only one kidney makes you vulnerable. If that kidney fails or is damaged, you're in immediate crisis. You'd go straight to the top of the transplant list. But that doesn't guarantee you'd get one in time. What about other options for Sabrina? Dr. Martinez pulled up another screen. Dialysis can keep her stable while she waits for a donor match from the National Transplant Registry. Many people live for years, sometimes decades, on dialysis while waiting. It's not ideal, but it's absolutely viable. My parents made it sound like I'm her only hope. Like if I don't do this, she'll die within weeks. Dr. Martinez's expression shifted to something like concern. That's not medically accurate. You're the most convenient option because you're an immediate match and readily available, but you're definitely not the only option. Armed with this information, I made the most difficult decision of my life. I requested a meeting with my family at the hospital. Sabrina was in a private room, looking pale and thin against the stark white sheets. But even diminished by illness, she had that air about her, that certainty that the world would arrange itself around her needs. Mom and Dad stood on either side of her bed like palace guards. "I've made my decision," I announced, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm sorry, but I can't donate my kidney." The room exploded. Dad's face turned red. "What do you mean you can't? How could you possibly? How could you do this to your sister?" Mom cried, actually clutching her chest like she was having a heart attack. Sabrina just stared at me with this look I'd seen 1,000 times before, the look that said I was disappointing her, failing her, proving exactly what she'd always suspected about me. "I've thought about this carefully," I continued, forcing myself to meet their eyes. "The medical risks and lifelong implications are too significant for me to ignore. I'm sorry, but this is my final decision." "What risks?" Dad scoffed, his voice dripping with contempt. "People donate kidneys all the time. It's routine surgery." "Yes, and they face real medical consequences," I replied. "I've consulted with my doctor, I've done my research, and I've made an informed decision about my own body." Dad pointed toward the door, his hand actually shaking with rage. "Get out! You're no daughter of mine." As I turned to leave, Sabrina finally spoke, her voice weak but cutting. "I always knew you hated me, Kayla. Now you're literally killing me to prove it." I stopped, turned back. "I don't hate you, Sabrina. I just can't set myself on fire to keep you warm, especially when you have other medical options available." "What other options?" she demanded, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Was it guilt? "Dialysis, for one. The treatment plan your doctor recommended that you've been refusing, according to the medical records I requested." Her face flushed. "You requested my medical records?" "I did my research, something our parents apparently didn't bother to do before demanding I sacrifice my health." 3 days after that hospital confrontation, a process server showed up at my apartment. I was served with legal papers while wearing pajama pants and holding a bowl of cereal. My parents were suing me. The complaint alleged that I had verbally committed to the kidney donation, then maliciously and callously backed out, causing severe emotional distress to the family and recklessly endangering Sabrina's life through my willful negligence. I sat on my couch reading and rereading the legal language, unable to process what was happening. My own parents, taking me to court, over my organs. "Can they even do this?" I asked Gregory Thompson, the attorney Taylor had recommended. He was in his 50s, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and an office that smelled like old books and strong coffee. "They can file the lawsuit," he said, reviewing the documents with a practiced eye. "But they absolutely cannot win. No court in this country would force someone to donate an organ. The legal precedent would be catastrophic. It would fundamentally violate bodily autonomy rights. But we still have to defend against it, which means time, stress, and legal fees. The lawsuit proceeded anyway, and then the media got involved. The Riverside Chronicle ran the headline, "Local woman refuses to donate kidney to dying sister, parents sue." Within hours, it had been picked up by regional news, then state news, then national outlets. My name, my face, my decision, all of it suddenly public property. I received death threats through social media, hundreds of them. Selfish monster. Worst sister in the world. Hope karma gets you. People I'd gone to high school with, people I'd considered friends, posted long rants about my moral failure. The coffee shop where I'd been working on their logo canceled their contract. 2 other clients followed suit. Mrs. Henderson from across the hall, who'd always been friendly, started avoiding eye contact in the elevator. But something unexpected happened too. Support started pouring in, thousands of messages from people, mostly women, who'd experienced similar family dynamics. Medical ethicists wrote op-eds defending bodily autonomy. Feminist organizations reached out offering support. The hearing date arrived, June 15th, at the Riverside County Courthouse. I wore my only suit, navy blue, slightly too big because I'd lost weight from stress. The courtroom was packed with journalists, legal observers, and random people who'd become invested in the case. "Your Honor," my parents' attorney began, a sharp-dressed man named Harrison Cole, who specialized in medical law. My client's daughter verbally committed to this life-saving procedure, giving the family hope, allowing them to plan around this donation. Then she cruelly reneged on her promise, knowing full well the devastating consequences for her sister. Gregory stood calmly, his voice steady and authoritative. "Your Honor, no such commitment was ever made. Miss Carson agreed to be tested for compatibility, nothing more. And even if she had made such a promise, which she did not, no court has ever compelled organ donation against someone's will. Miss Carson's bodily autonomy is protected by both constitutional law and medical ethics. This lawsuit is not only without merit, it's an attempt to use the legal system to coerce a medical decision." The judge, an older woman named Judge Sarah Brennan, asked me to take the stand. "Miss Carson," she said, her voice neutral but not unkind, "can you explain your decision to the court?" I looked directly at my parents as I spoke. I did agree to get tested voluntarily. When I learned I was a match, I told my family I would consider donation, not that I would definitely proceed. After consulting with medical professionals and learning about the surgical risks, recovery period, and lifelong health implications, I made the difficult decision not to go forward. "And what specifically factored into this decision?" Judge Brennan asked. "The immediate surgical risks, infection, bleeding, complications from anesthesia, the 6 to 8 week recovery period that would cost me income as a freelancer with no sick leave, the long-term medical implications of living with only one kidney, the increased vulnerability to kidney disease, the risk of hypertension." I paused, then decided to tell the whole truth. "And yes, Your Honor, the fact that my parents and sister have treated me as less important, less valued, my entire life. They only contacted me when they needed something from me, literally a piece of my body. They never once considered what this would mean for my future, my health, my life." My father jumped up from his seat. "That's a complete lie. We've always loved both our daughters equally." Judge Brennan's gavel came down hard. "Mr. Carson, sit down immediately or I will hold you in contempt of court." Then Gregory called his witness, Dr. Stevens, Sabrina's nephrologist, who'd been subpoenaed. "Dr. Stevens, is Miss Sabrina Carson currently on the national transplant list?" "Yes, she is." "And has she been exploring all available treatment options?" The doctor shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Not exactly. Miss Carson has refused dialysis treatment multiple times, against strong medical advice." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. If she had consistently undergone the recommended dialysis treatment, Gregory pressed, would she be in better condition to wait for a matching donor from the National Registry? Objection! Harrison Cole jumped up. Relevance? Your Honor, it's extremely relevant, Gregory countered. The plaintiffs claim Miss Carson is endangering her sister's life, but if Miss Sabrina Carson has been refusing medically advised treatment, then her current critical condition is partially self-inflicted, not the result of her sister's decision. Judge Brennan nodded. Overruled. The witness will answer. Dr. Stevens looked at Sabrina, then back at the judge. Yes, if she had followed the treatment plan, she would likely be in significantly better condition. Her refusal of dialysis has accelerated her decline. The courtroom erupted. Judge Brennan had to bang her gavel 3 times to restore order. The case fell apart from there. After a brief recess, Judge Brennan returned with her decision. This court finds no legal merit in the plaintiff's case, she announced. No verbal contract existed, no legal obligation was created. And even if such an obligation had existed, this court would not enforce it. Bodily autonomy is a fundamental right. No person can be compelled to undergo surgery or donate organs against their will, regardless of their relationship to the recipient. She turned to my parents, her expression stern. Furthermore, this court finds that the plaintiffs have misused the legal system in an attempt to coerce medical cooperation. The lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. The plaintiffs are ordered to pay the defendants' legal fees in full. Court is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed like locusts. Kayla, how does it feel to win? I stopped, looked directly at the cameras. This wasn't about winning. This was about standing up for myself after a lifetime of being treated as less important, less valued than my sister. This was about asserting a basic human right, control over my own body. The story went viral. Within 24 hours, I had over 50,000 messages across all platforms. Major news outlets requested interviews. Medical ethics professors cited the case in their lectures. Support groups for family scapegoats shared my story. Legal blogs analyzed the decision. My parents tried to call. I blocked their numbers. They sent letters. I returned them unopened. 4 weeks after the trial, Taylor showed me an article from the Riverside Chronicle. Sabrina Carson begins dialysis treatment, donor match found. She's on dialysis, Taylor said, and they found her a match through the National Registry. She's having surgery next month. Do you regret your decision? Taylor asked carefully. I looked at her, feeling more certain than I had in years. Not for 1 second. For the first time in my entire life, I chose myself. I put my needs, my health, my future first. And look what happened. Sabrina found another solution, just like the doctor said she could. She only started dialysis after she realized you weren't going to cave, Taylor observed. Exactly. She had options all along. They all did. They just wanted the convenient option. The Kayla option. The one where I sacrifice myself so they don't have to deal with anything difficult. 6 months passed. My design business actually grew. The publicity, even the negative attention, brought in clients who admired what they called my courage. I was commissioned for larger projects, corporate branding, work that actually challenged me creatively. Then one Saturday afternoon I was having lunch at Franco's Bistro with Leonard, discussing a potential partnership, when I saw my mother across the dining room. She looked different, older, worn down, smaller somehow. The confidence and certainty that had always surrounded her like armor was gone. She saw me. Our eyes met. She started walking toward our table. Kayla, please, she said, her voice shaking. Can we talk? Just for 5 minutes? There's nothing to talk about, Mom. Your father and we've realized how wrong we were, not just about the kidney, but about everything. How we treated you growing up, how we always— Save it, I interrupted, my voice cold. You're only here because the community turned against you after the truth came out in court. Because people know now that Sabrina refused treatment, that you sued your own daughter over her organs. You don't miss me. You miss looking like good people. That's not true, she insisted, tears forming. We miss you. We love you. We're your parents. No, I said, standing up and gathering my things. Leonard quietly signaled for the check. Parents love their children, all of their children, equally. They don't treat one like a prize and the other like a backup plan. They don't sue them for bodily autonomy. You lost the right to call yourselves my parents the day you served me those papers. I walked out, leaving her standing there in the middle of the restaurant. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Return address showed Sabrina's name. My first instinct was to throw it away unopened, but something made me hesitate. Curiosity, maybe, or some small part of me that still remembered when we were kids, before the comparisons and competitions, when she'd occasionally let me play with her toys. I opened it. Kayla, I won't ask for your forgiveness because I know I don't deserve it. I'm not even sure I deserve the kidney I received last week. The surgery went well. I'm recovering. But that's not why I'm writing. I've started therapy. My therapist asked me to write down my earliest memory of our family dynamic. And I realized I was 5 years old when I learned that I was Mom and Dad's miracle, and you were their surprise. I learned early that I could do no wrong in their eyes, and I used that power my whole life. I watched them dismiss you, ignore you, diminish you, and I never said a word. I never stood up for you. I was too busy enjoying being the favorite. The lawsuit forced me to see some horrible truths about myself and our parents. They gave me everything and demanded nothing, while demanding everything from you and giving nothing. I participated in that. I benefited from it. I'm complicit in every hurt they caused you. I'm not asking to reconcile. I don't expect you to ever speak to me again. I just wanted you to know that what you did, standing up for yourself, refusing to be used, taught me something important. It forced me to confront the person I'd become. I hope you're well. I hope you're happy. You deserve happiness, Kayla. You always did. Sabrina. I read it twice, then carefully folded it and placed it in my desk drawer. Not ready to respond, not ready to forgive, but also not quite ready to throw it away. Today, 18 months after the trial, I'm more than surviving. I'm thriving. My design agency has 4 employees now. We work with nonprofits and small businesses, creating brands for people who care about something beyond profit. I bought a small house in the Oakland Hills with a studio space and a garden where I grow tomatoes and basil. I'm dating someone, a teacher named Austin who loves horror movies and makes terrible puns and has never once compared me to anyone else. His family had Sunday dinners where everyone actually listens to each other, and the first time he invited me, I cried in the bathroom because I didn't know families could be like that. My parents still send cards on my birthday and major holidays. I return them unopened every single time. People sometimes ask if I'll ever forgive them, if time will heal those wounds. The answer is no. Some betrayals cut too deep. Some violations of trust can't be repaired. They showed me exactly who they were. People who saw me as useful only for what I could provide them. People who loved conditionally, who valued me only in relation to Sabrina's needs. People who were willing to sue their own daughter, to drag her through court, to publicly shame her, to coerce a medical decision through legal force. The ultimate victory wasn't winning the lawsuit or the judge's rebuke or even the public vindication. It was finally, after 29 years, recognizing my own worth. It was learning that I don't have to earn love through sacrifice. It was building a life surrounded by people who value me for who I am, not what I can give them. So here's what I learned. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away. Sometimes protecting yourself means disappointing people. Sometimes saying no, even to family, even to people who claim they'll die without your yes, is the most courageous thing you can do. My kidney is still mine. My life is still mine. And I've never been more at peace with a decision. Now I'm curious. If you were in my position, would you have made the same choice? Or would you have donated despite everything? Comment below with your thoughts. And if this story resonated with you, please share it. You never know who might need to hear that it's okay to choose yourself.